And while I'll open the conversation on a certain subject, we'll allow it to go in whichever direction it goes, depending on what's most important for you, what's in your mind, and what you want to discuss today, and what you would like to take away from the gathering today. But what would be an amazing takeaway, at least from my perspective today, is if each of you walks out with someone new you've met today who can go on to becoming a friend and go to person post this. So that's really the intent for us organizing such meetups. And also a lot of cross-functional and cross-sectoral conversations, because we have people here like Sumit from Almaya, Mad Hospitality, Swift Food Investments, Choitrams, Damas, GK. So different kinds of formats, Astro Pharmacy, very different types of formats. And you may not have thought of certain things that maybe they've cracked. But the problems on the root level, at the foundational level, may be very similar. So the intent is to enable those cross conversations to sort of lead to some innovative thoughts and new ideas coming across the market. As we start, I think you've met each other, but maybe we'll just do one quick round of just the name and company, so everyone is able to place, because there's been a lot of faces you've all met, and it may be a little challenging remembering. So I'll just move the mic around, and if we can all just speak out our name and company, and so others can take note that this is the person I want to catch on to after the formal discussion. And we'll have a formal discussion only for the first 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Post that, we'll open it up for informal conversations with anyone you may want to latch on to. So I'll just move the mic around.
Yep. I am the general manager for Nazihi Group for the retail division. We have more than 40 showrooms in UAE, and I'm handling all the retail shops.
They can hear me.
I don't know if it's working or not.
First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting us all. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. My name is Patrick. I'm head of VM in Damas Jewelries. I'm originally Armenian Lebanese. I moved to Dubai 10 years ago, and I'm actually now handling Damas Jewelries across all the GCC. And I love what I do, and I'm here to share my knowledge and learn new things from you. Thank you.
Anuj from InfoQuest, and basically we are into the retails. So just would like to meet everyone and discuss whatever we can do for you as well.
Myself Gopi, working with InfoQuest, and as my colleague Manoj told. My name is Gopi. I work with InfoQuest. As my colleague Manoj told, we are into solution provider for different solution challenges for the retail sector. So further we will discuss again on that different points. Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's only for the camera. Okay, thanks Arika for inviting us. I'm Vinay. I belong to Nuvo Group, and we are at very much infancy, started 3 years back, and Genesis was one of the reasons, COVID. In net, if I say we are trying to simplify cross-border retail. When we did our homework and research, we realized that if you look at any $1 billion group, the common denominator is 70, 80 countries of presence. And when we further researched into it, we saw that there are many regional brands who are worth $1 billion within their own countries. They have per capita, if I say per country average, which is much bigger than even the $1 billion brands. And they, for some reason, are not expanding out. So what we took an objective is to simplify retail for them. And we also believe, looking at competitive world, retail cannot afford to have one more layer. So
thank you, Sarika and Wooker, for holding this event, and looking forward to meet everyone here. I'm Abdullah Abdurrahim Al-Khaja. Actually, we're part of Al-Khaja Group. We're into 3 sectors, predominantly the medical sector, distribution devices, equipment. And lately we've added the F&B, which we're now representing, which is the Swift Food Investment. And we're also into real estate. And this is my managing partner, Ammar.
Well, you have introduced me already. So as my partner said, I'm Ammar Hanifa, the managing partner of the F&B section, Swift Food Investment. We currently are in hold of a US franchise known as Chicken Cone. And we are currently the master franchisee of the entire Middle East region, and hopefully planning to expand more globally.
So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you, Sarika, and the Workit team for having all of us here. My name is Rihanna. I work as operations head for UAE at Choithrooms, which is omni-channel retailer. So we have brick and mortar stores. We have our choithroom.com e-commerce operations, and we're also with aggregators like InstaShop and Talabat and all the other names that you have in the market today. So very happy to be here. Looking forward to interacting with each one of you. And as Sharika said, making some friends when we walk out of this. And a very passionate retailer as such, a mother of an 8-year-old, yeah. And yeah, a good wife and a good daughter. That's what I am. So looking forward to more interactions with you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you Sarika for getting us all here. It's really an honor to be here as well. My name is Neil Bassoon. I am the head of VM for Kamal Osman Jamjoom, better known as KOJ, for brands, popular brands, Naomi, Body Shop, Early Learning Center. Now we acquired Lego and as well as Subway. So there's a few things. There's many brands under our umbrella. So it's just an honor to be here, and I take care of the entire Middle East as the head of VM. So
good evening, everyone, and thank you, Sarika and Wooker team, for organizing this. I think very exciting bunch of people. First of all, I think everybody very varied experiences, what I can see early on, and looking forward to the discussion. I'm part of the Aster Retail Group. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the digital business. So we take care of a part of, Rihanna, what you said, right? So including aggregator business and our own app. So, we've largely become the largest D2C player in the market already in the last 1 year that I've taken over. Prior to that, I've had pure play digital experience. I worked with, I've erected food delivery company back in India. Then I've done a fintech, to the scales of almost $1 billion on the top line, and the food tech on 350 million, 400 million, and so on and so forth. And that's the aspiration we have at Aster Retail Group as well on the, digital vision and stuff like that. Apart from that, I think this is my first year in the region. Very excited to network, meet people, the peer group, and understand how can we collaborate, do things together. And this is a small market as far as I've seen it so far, right? So connections do really work. And I'm looking forward to the evening today. Thank you.
Well, hi Sarika, and hi, good evening everyone. My name is Sumit. Sarika, for the first place, I would like to thank you for organizing this, making us all meet. So my name is Sumit Chatterjee. I handle the operations. I head the operations for Almaya Group. In totality, around 23 years of experience in retail throughout. I'd worked most of my part in India and Europe, and it's been the second year now I'm in UAE. So a copy paste of what Rihanna said. So Choithrooms and Almaya happens to be, kids of the same father. So, so we are absolutely, same in operations and the same way we operate. We have 50 plus stores across UAE and Oman. And we are present in offline, brick and mortar, as well as online. So we have our own app and aggregator apps where we do business. And so, well, that's it. And, we have definitely planned that, we'll have a good time together.
Palija, COO of GK Group. We are into retail, distribution, and now into esports of video games, mainly, and also pop culture products. With over 38 stores across 6 countries, GK is by far the leading gaming destination you can see in the Middle East. And I'm very excited to be here and would love to hear and share insights. Thank you.
I thought this was some innovative makeup brush, and but anyway, sorry, I probably need it. So my name's Tayyib. I'm the Director of Retail at GK Group. I work with my colleague Nimit. I lead the retail stores across GCC. As Nimit quite rightly said, we are now in 6 countries. We recently opened in Saudi Arabia, and we're very excited to be the destination of gaming and entertainment within the region. I've been in retail for 30 years. I've been in the region for 10 years. Before this, I was working for Axiom Telecom, and before that, I worked in Doha with Qatar Airways opening the new Hamad Airport, which was a very exciting project. And before that, as you can tell from my accent, I spent a lot of time living in London. So very nice to meet you all and looking forward to some really good conversations.
Hi, good evening, and thank you, Sarika. I think you've got a lot of thank you today. So I'm not in the retail sector, but I'm on the other side of the retail where we provide technology to all retailers. And coincidentally, we have some retailers who use our services. One is Jashimal, GK, and then XMAF. So the reason why we are here is basically, one of the reasons is because we are the ground force for VUCA now in UAE, and we have partnered with VUCA because we provide a lot of technology for any retailer. So we are Sensomatic distributors for UAE, which is a Johnson Controls product. And apart from that, we have migrated into retail analytics, solutions like VUCA, and many other technologies. So that's why we are here, and would like to meet you all again and show our solutions later. Thank you, Sarika.
I'm Sarika, and I'm part of the founding team at VUCA. And we are working on digitizing retail operations and helping retailers in areas that require technology. But as we start today's conversation, I'd just like to open up with the subject that is likely to be common for all of you, which is, as we say, it's 1% strategy. Success is 1% strategy and 99% execution. And that execution defines the successful from the not so successful. So how does one drive and ensure execution that's seamless, consistent, and happening on a daily basis on the ground? And I don't want us to talk about problems today. We all know the problems. I don't think they need discussion. What I'd like each of you to take an opportunity to share is, what solutions have you tried that have worked for you? And maybe, you can take away solutions or ideas that have worked for others and try them for yourselves, or vice versa. Take up ideas that have worked for others. If you don't want to share, feel free to pass the mic. But we'll start from that point, and then let's see, maybe one of these ideas is worth digging deeper into the conversations, and we'll take it on from there. But anyone would like to start? Yeah, sure.
Be present on the ground, getting feedback from all the sales team. On a regular basis, if you do, and from my area, so we are visual merchandisers, when we are on the ground, we always discuss about the problems, and then when we take the problems back to the office, we actually take actions about them, and then we find the solutions. So these were some things that we worked, and actually it works for us. Yeah, that's it.
Put it across 1% to 99%, my personal view. But I see, I've been through two different worlds whereby execution was really a challenge, whereby you ask something, you communicate something, and you go into the stores physically and you see surprises. Off lately, and especially when I talk about my 10 years in Gulf working with billion-dollar setups into fashion, I see that over the period of time, retail as a team overall has come up a lot stronger into the processes. I have worked with a system which now works at T96% plus process accuracy. I see the level of execution has gone up. I still see there is a very, very strong importance of timely communication and communication across all channels to the last player in the team. That still holds up a lot of importance. But personally, if I have to take one example from once we were planning an event without naming the organization, and one of the events really went well through the roof. And what I could see was one lever which really was instrumental in driving that kind of a growth. While in the past things were getting communicated always, this was the time the preparation started a little well in advance, and only from just communication we had team who started owning that, and we had a lot of contribution coming in from the ground zero. So there was a little bit more of a feedback session. There was a little bit more of surveys before. Having the feedback from ground zero, we've been doing this, we've been communicating this. If there is there any other better way of doing it? I think engaging the ground zero team before you throw up a strategy, just as usual, could also help us a lot. And maybe, you know, how do we make, while everyone is accountable, how do we make ownership going onto the last person in the team, and they feel it's not someone sending me a strategy, but I am part of it. I was part of it when it was getting discussed, and that I have seen one of the event, it really went through the roof. So for us, I think what you, not taking it, you know, strategy and execution absolutely plays, any good strategy will be nowhere if it's not executed properly. But as the time are getting competitive, execution, right strategy, and contribution from the ground zero team owning that they own the process is very, very important. So that's
in a sense. But the single most important aspect, or two things that are most important, and this is building upon my colleagues' points, is communication and culture. And for me, it starts from day one, that a staff or colleague, senior, junior, any level that joins the organization, it's very essential that they join in the right way, they're introduced in the right, of course, culture, they're able to communicate freely across their peers, across levels. That way, where you get that feedback from ground zero, you get that feedback from the stores, because if we don't have the right culture, even if Patrick walks into one of his stores, and if the culture is not there, there's fear, there's a barrier, there's a gap, people will not talk, right? People won't communicate, people won't be able to or want to even bother to give back to the company, right? Because they don't see anything in return, or they don't see that their voice is heard. And I think that's key. And then once we are able to define the strategy, see to it, plan things out, I think execution should be seamless. And all of these kind of whistles and kind of, let's say, glittery things which are nice to have, whether it's tech, whether it's add-ons, whether it's tools, it's to help things get faster, finish faster, more effective, more efficient. But at its core, I think it's the people that get the job done. So yeah.
One point I would like to add on top of what my partner said is, well, at least based on our current experience, is that we have the open door policy, and we have seen a lot of positive impact because of that. So adding on top of the no fear to state your opinion, is that also when it comes to accountability, I have worked in large organizations before, and I have seen the difference. Maybe for us, since we are considered as a medium-sized company, so we still have that luxury where all of the staff are intact and engaged at some point constantly. But also, hopefully, we're planning to have that also whenever or no matter how big the company gets, that core value or that culture still remains. So it's not based on hierarchy. Of course, when it comes to policies and systems and all that, okay, you have hierarchy involved, but let's say if someone has a concern or has an idea or thought of something outside the box, of course, regardless of where you are positioned at the hierarchy, you can always come, you can always provide your feedback, you can always provide your idea, and we will take it into consideration. With that being said, I think we have implemented a couple of ideas, and it was provided not from the management side, it was actually from the staff and for the team members. So there are always good ideas, regardless of where it comes from, and it's always important for the top management to hear them out. Yeah.
So to add on, Sharika, I completely agree with the point that strategy is important, but when it comes to execution, that makes all the difference. So in my role today, I sit on the table where the strategy, the discussion around what needs to be done in the long term, it get made. But I'm also responsible for the execution on the floor. Now, when you're sitting in a role like this, it's more than important to understand the challenges of both sides, but the communication is very, very different. how we put a strategy across and how this needs to be translated to a stalker on the floor actually makes a big difference in how they own it. And if I talk about Choithrooms, we're completing 50 years in the UAE market next year. 1974 is when it started. So it had a legacy, which the company is really proud of, deep roots, we say. But we also started a transformational journey around 6 to 7 years back, with an SAP implementation, a lot of digitalization, a completely new structure. But that also made it very important for us to bring it down to an execution where the flow team understood what we wanted. So one is the internal, the strength of the culture, what we believe in. Now, the external scenario posed its own challenges. So the pandemic kind of completely, took the entire priorities were reset. And post-pandemic, we saw the e-commerce setting in. The way we used to run our stores before pandemic and post-pandemic is very, very different. So with those challenges, an operations team had to juggle not just one ball of selling the product off the shelf. We had to do a lot more than just expecting the customer to come to the store and pick the product and, walk to the checkout. We had to make sure that SLAs on each of the channels were met by the same team. So with these challenges, what we thought best would be to let the team manage the efforts. So when you kind of incentivize a team or define the KPIs, I think that's one big point that I would want to leave for further discussions as well. We say that sales, maybe top line, is a target when we set it for the team. But for a stalker, because of all these external scenarios that were happening, we could not evaluate them only on a top line.
Approach to evaluating people on the ground, which is driven by what behaviors and actions do you want people taking. And thus the whole approach of OKRs that has set up and that part of the industry is all driven by what behaviors and what actions do I want taken every day, every week, and every month, which become the OKRs. And the strategy has already figured out that if these behaviors and actions prevail, the outcomes will happen. And that's in the hands of the strategist. So essentially, a ground level person doesn't have to be held responsible directly for the output. That's my super duper manager's responsibility, that he has the strategy which links the right actions and behaviors to the right outputs. I have to focus on the behaviors and actions I need to display every day. And because the strategy is right, that execution, when driven right, will deliver the right results. So this is just something from a very different tangent from the world of technology. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. What actions and behaviors do they need to demonstrate every day on flow, which if done will deliver that growth. So the weight of
Liam's role is so critical in it, in terms of, we take all the understanding from all the group heads and all the understanding of where the product comes from, how it comes, and then I'm speaking from a toy industry like a ELC group, where we went through a hectic transformational period where the story with the ELC in the UK and Mothercare losing it and stuff like that. And now it's like in the Middle East, because we have the franchise for it, we couldn't wait upon ELC to send us products. So we started doing local deals with toy suppliers and bringing brands into the business. And that's a big no-no for any kind of a franchise business, especially a private label like ELC. And incorporating that with people that were trying to change everything, I've decided to do where we start drawing stars on SketchUp and videotizing it, making it little videos that adding less words so they kind of copy paste, because in our field it's all about, for me, it's all about chain image, look and feel. So whether a customer goes to a store in Dubai, Jeddah, Dammam, Riyadh, the execution and implementation has to be seamless. And the more challenges from my side, we don't really have VM per store. It's the store manager that's responsible for the entire operations, including VM, and so including how the store should look and feel. So that communication from the strategy point, that I sit and listen to everybody say, and then draw up a VM guideline, and then say, right, now I've got to make it such that the last person is able to see it and do it seamlessly and still be passionate about it. So in so many words, even though we say, Corona was the worst kind of thing, but I think it was a birth of technology. It was a birth for us to communicate, especially from a VM strategy point of view, on a different level. So you get more, we're using the platforms like Trello to upload guidelines and talk to our staff directly online, like, what are your challenges? No two stores are the same. Everywhere it's different, it's smaller stores, but the implementation of launching a product has to be launched in its range, otherwise you're wasting your time. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just seamless communication.
I'll talk about probably more about the F&B, especially when it comes to operations and the strategies. Mainly, there's more people actually will find out in UAE when they have the strategy about building a restaurant or building a store. It's more they don't have the budget currently what they have. So building the strategy for them, including the financial plan, the business plan, and the manual which need to be done, it's more different, covering all of the discussions what happened. It's more about what's happened on the floor. People just look at something, they don't exactly manage how it is being done, how it's been taking the time, how the deadline is being done. So that comes in the beginning as a pre-planning, and then when it comes to the office and goes on the operations on the floor, it's more difficult. Why? Because everything is connected to each other, including purchasing, operations, and all the suppliers we're getting from. So fixing on the deadline is one of the most important things, which is most of the people is not reaching it correctly actually. It's not because of us, it's not because of them, it's because of everybody is connected together. So by fixing that as a communication, following up with the communication stuff, that's most importantly what we need to focus on by building the tech. I'm just covering everybody because actually you guys are really just manage everything. So by following up with the tech, with the following up with the way of communication, just to be updated about everything, I'm sure like most of the people will reach the deadline correctly. And most important is the leadership, how to manage the people on the floor, following up with the people upsides in the office. That's from my side for now because I don't want to be adding more stuff which is already being told before, but thank you so much. There we go.
Look, it's a very interesting thing because my take is on strategy. Generally, the last person in the line is not part of it. That's done at the office. However, for execution, they are the most critical people because without them, your execution is not going to work. So for us, the most important part, and look, my background is basically finance, right? So if you break down numbers, they all stack up. So for me, what I realized and what worked for me was break your strategy or your execution down in action points. Make it very clear who's responsible for what. So that it's not that you want to just hold people accountable. In the end, you're on the line, right? So if you come out with an idea and it doesn't work, the buck stops there. The idea is, if the process is correct, the result should come out. And if the process didn't work, you're able to identify what needs to change or improved upon. So, making it very, very granular, The other thing is, link your incentives from day one. Jashanmal, I don't know how many of you know, but it's more than a 100-year-old company. So it survived all your world wars, all your Kuwait wars, etc. And any product which we sold probably 60 years ago, we probably don't sell it today. We sold from diamonds to, you can name whatever you want, has gone through the company. So there's a lot of experience. it's important to share your experience with your staff. But we also had something which came in many years ago, and I think that was followed by Landmark to quite an extent, because when Mr. Jagtiani came in, Gangu, who used to run Jashanmal, was very close to him. We never limited incentives for our staff. So it's possible, if you do well, you can take home a big sum of money. The logic was very clear. If you're making this, we think you deserve to make this. So give an example. We ran a brand which the principal, and generally, innovations, they only come out when you're on fire. Generally, if you're sitting nicely in your car, you're not going to run fast, right? It's only when you see somebody chasing you, about to shoot you, you do something different. The growth, generally, what I saw is, so a private label, keeping aside, in franchise, if you don't run, the brand will go to somebody else, right? So he might be my best friend, but he's also pitching for the brands I have. So we've been through periods where you have to double the brand in 3 years. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. Now, interestingly, just to share a small story, we had a footwear brand. That footwear brand always went on a sale, 20%, 50%, 60%. So I think maybe 7, 8 years ago, we said we should do a buy one, get one. Now, they'd never done that in the entire world. So first, they're very skeptical to give an approval to us. We said, no, we think it will work because we don't want to lose out on margins as well, and we'll be able to move product out. So we said DSF, do buy one, get one. We have good targets. And the team was not sure because, this is when you make the most amount of money. But we at the office felt it should work. Let's try it out. What's the worst that will happen, right? 60 days, 65 days, we'll lose some days. Rolled it out. The first week, sales were not there. So, and the other thing is, I always made sure my managers are never in the office. If you're a merchandiser, work from the store. You're allowed to come to the office only for 3 hours in a day. That's it. And on a particular day in a week, no need to come to the office. Work from the store so that people know you're there and you have their feedback. First week, results not there. Second week, we started getting a bit worried because if you don't do DSF, your annual budgets are gone, right? You're not going to make your sales. So you're sitting, doing all the walks in the mall, and the brand manager is saying, sir, what? I said, look, now I'm also very scared because what are we going to tell everybody? Our idea didn't work. So we said, okay, let's give it like 2 more days. And trust me, the third week, it started flying. Since then, even today, the best promo ever is a buy one, get one. And the sales staff who was literally telling us, what have you guys done, will not make our incentives. If you went back and told them, do you want a sale or a buy one, get one? They'll say, no, I want that. Because in $600, 2 pairs have gone through, right? So, very important, make it very clear who's accountable, what is in it for you. People deliver. In the end, we all work for money, right? So it's very clear what you're going to get, it will happen. So for me, execution, very important, break it down into parts, very clear whose role is what, and what do you get in the end. Once you have the buy-in, trust me, it's just going to work very, very well. But there are very few companies who actually believe, let's limit. There's a 6 months bonus, a 3 months bonus. Like all our VMs were on bonus. We said nothing doing. They have to be on incentive. Because if the store, what you're doing is for the store, right? There's no point in you coming and telling me try to sell this or I'm going to place this here. The moment you tell the VM, you're on an incentive, you should see the change. So every person who's directly, indirectly can be covered, put them on an incentive, and you'll be surprised at how good the results come out.
Discussion. But I want to present or start with another metaphor to the same statement, right? Which says, I think Steve Jobs said this, but it says a vision without execution is hallucination, right? So I think it's the same same statement that we are more or less talking about, right? Strategy without execution is hallucination, right? And so if I go back to the literal, what does what is strategy really, right? And so this is one of the Harvard classes where they say strategy is a solution which takes your company forward, right? How do you move forward? How do you grow? Is basically strategy, right? And there is no fixed answer to the situation that you are in. There is no fixed answer to, or there's no template. There is, I think all of us contributed to our own examples that we were talking about when we were stuck in our situations, which clearly also signifies that there is no playbook. So his playbook or my playbook or anybody else's playbook is not going to work out in the situation that we're going to be in next, right? And at that point in time, I think it's very critical for us as leaders to think that you are the one who's designing the strategy in an AC room, while the guy who's supposed to execute it on the ground does not understand why you designed what you designed, right? So three things that I see why execution fails, right? One is, I think, the real purpose. A lot of times we are doing or designing or writing the strategy basis how the competition is shaping up. Like he said, right, somebody is behind my back is why I want to do this. Because my competition did a BOGO, I also want to go for BOGO because I think because now every customer will go to him without realizing whether it's a good offer, not good. A lot of times we, because how market is reacting, how competition is doing, we react. And that's very natural as a human, right? So I think even in those boardrooms, we miss the purpose of why we are taking as a strategic call. Compared to whether, this is a short-term, mid-term panic call. Why do we need to do what we need to do? For example, a 2020 example is where it was a panic call. Everybody had to change strategies overnight.
We cater, a lot of our consumers are kids. Kids are very hard to please. We have to be very, very nice. They'll be like, oh, this is so yesterday, this was so boring. So, we are in that scenario where we have to be updated on a regular basis. So how do we become so quick? So for that, we have to be a lean.
I was fascinated when you talked about time-bound, because when I moved to this region 10 years ago, having worked in very structured, organized retailers in Europe, one of the things that drove me completely insane was when I'd talk to my team and say, can you do this? And the response was always, yes, after some time. And this is something I still battle with, but now my team never say that phrase to me because I don't know what it means and I want a deadline. Anyway, I think in terms of execution, I think, and again, the benefit of having worked in very mature, organized markets, and what I see this region is a super exciting emerging market. Lots of retailers and businesses are here that are still very much in startup mode as far as I'm concerned. I think the interesting thing is that what I see is businesses in this part of the world, when they define a strategy and they cascade it down, I think the big error I see is that businesses talk about what needs to be done. This is what you need to do. And that's what they do. And then they expect people on the ground just to get it done. The problem with that is then your employee is thinking with his head. This is what I've been told to do. Businesses in more mature markets I've seen, and I've had the benefit of that experience, and it's something that we try and talk to our teams about every day, is we talk about why things need to be done. Because when you explain why to an employee, he thinks with his heart as well as his head. Because people are not androids, they're not robots, they don't just follow instructions, they have emotions. So my view is that when you execute, you really need to make sure it's not just from the CEO and the COO, the CFO come up with a strategy and it's defined in an ivory tower somewhere, and they understand why it's important. If your people on the ground don't understand why I'm doing this and are not bought into that, then sustainability, execution is massively at risk. Their heart needs to be in it. And that's what I find works quite well. And I think that's a huge opportunity in retailers that I talk to in this region through my network, is really talking about why things are important. And then people will get it. And then you have a situation where organizations' arrows are all aligned. Everyone is facing the right direction. from the CEO to the guy on the floor, because everyone understands why things are important. So I think it's good having a strategy, it's good having a plan, execution, but everyone needs to play their part. And as we say in Hindi, dil se kaam karna hai. So you have to do it with your heart. And if your employee doesn't do it with their heart as well as their head, you're going to struggle. So that's my point of view.
So just listening to everyone. So basically, I've been in the retail industry for around 23 years in UAE alone. So I've worked with retailers when they were small shops, or we used to supply different small technology. At that time, it used to be point of sale or something like that. So over the years, it's been 2 decades, and continuation with that, what I was saying, it is not. It is also an addition to that is how it has to be done. So in a retail outlet, what happens is completely different when you implement a new technology or new product. There is no proper training or guidelines given to the user on how to use it. So they're all dumbstruck to how to use it. So you implement RFID, you implement analytics. So if that education can be given at the ground level to the staff, how to use it, I think that will also help as management to get a lot of positive outputs from the retail stores. So that's from a technology perspective. So I think a ground training would always help retailers ease their problems. So
you trust them, they'll figure it out.
but we are, the last is the toll-free number, they call us. So
Trust, figure it out. Or do it yourself. Like, when you go to a store, if you have a good relationship, my philosophy has always been, feel free to ask, why did we do this? Doesn't mean you'll get an answer, but you have a right to ask.
Communicating in a way that they understand, making sure they understand the why and believe in it. Time-bound actions are some of the things I'm taking away from this conversation. But at this point, I'd like to open it up for anyone who may have a question for the group, around a challenge or a problem that's been on your mind, and you'd like to place it to the group and ask, how are you dealing with it, or has anyone been able to find a solution to that?
Experience of the team is completely different. Keep in mind that Saudiization just happened few years ago. So not a lot of Saudis who are working in retail have the retail experience to understand how things work, like basic SOPs or so. So a lot of training and basically a lot of, you can say, guidance was given from our side. But one thing which we notice in Saudi, which we don't notice in the UAE, is that in Saudi, even the salespeople, or you can say even the people who are on the floor doing operational tasks and things, are enthusiastic about the work they are doing. Compared to what we see in UAE, where the enthusiasm comes in much later, maybe because it's very expat friendly, and people initially want to just get into the job, try to save some money, and then eventually get promotion and then have a good life. So we see a lot of more enthusiasm in Saudi, but in UAE we see a bit more experience in terms of understanding the retail aspect of things. Also, what we have noticed in terms of while we're talking about visual merchandising and other retail operations, digital plays a very key role in Saudi. I think if you have app-based solutions, or even a backend where you can put in all your SOPs and the operational points in those, that makes life easier than writing it down. Because in traditional retail, where cash handovers and things like that, you start writing it down or you pass it on to your team. That's what you have these filing systems and things like that, and that probably works in the traditional retail systems. A lot more in Saudi is more digitalized than what we have seen in UAE, where people prefer to be everything on the app. People prefer everything to be on the POS. It's much more easier for them. Let's just say that they prefer using the phones than writing things down. So I think in terms of the operational side, I think that's one thing which probably is a big learning for us. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Jeddah is a bit like in cultural aspect, a bit like Dubai. It's very understanding, open. Riyadh is you can say very interesting in terms of the consumer trends. Like for example, the consumers are very excited to know what's coming new. It's very common for a Saudi consumer in Riyadh to come to the mall every day.
With the kids, and they don't build, so they just buy this box. So when we had opened, everybody bought it, and everybody that bought it gave it back to the shop to build it up for them. So so we said, where's the play value? Because buying Lego box is all about the play value and the build value and the thing. So they buy it because, and then we started realizing that the people that were buying it were not kids. They were adults buying it because he's got a Mercedes Benz, so I'm selling it. So yeah, build it for me, and then I'll put it on my desk or I'll put it on my. So, and it's amazing because, like even with Saudization in the ELC stores, we've seen a massive drop in sales because we learned that the people they don't want to break boxes. The ladies, we had to employ ladies, so they don't want to break boxes and unpack it, and so we had to get a supervisor, an ex-staff to be the supervisor to handle the deliveries that come in. So we've seen a dip in sales in terms of also communication because we found out that it's like they don't like the kids, and in being in a toy store, you gotta encourage that 8-year-old boy or the 7-year-old or the mom that's coming in and talk to them, you know. So it's we kind of seeing a dip, and then we're seeing a pickup, and then a dip, and then a pickup. So it's hard to say. And then with all the expats that are there and all these charges that's happening at the moment, it makes it difficult because people are just sending their families home, you know. So now, like the Egyptian guys are always saying, hey, my family is going back home. So it's just him by himself. So naturally, toys is struggling. But I mean, we are still in a better footprint there. And I mean, the stores really look great with all the offers and stuff. But service is, if you don't have service, how does it work? You know what I mean? So it's Saudi Arabia is and
you know, we're looking for a franchise partner. You know, obviously with franchising, you have a lot of leads. 99 of them are just asking for how much. You know, they don't care about the brand, and that was apparent with, you know, when we exhibited in the franchise exhibition a year ago. And yeah, I mean, luckily we've partnered up, you know, with a partner in the UAE as well as in Qatar. So we're hopefully moving towards Saudi as a next destination.
Problem now, if you remove your artwork from your door, from your shop, nobody will enter the shop. So this is a big challenge in UAE. You will not find it anywhere. Always you need to have 25%, 50%, buy one, get one. If you don't do it, if you go to Dubai Hills or Dubai Mall or Emirates Mall, you will find out that you're out of the game. So this is maybe also a big challenge for everybody.
To them, not according to what us. So that was one of the most challenges actually, which is we faced. So we're hoping to the best for that.
Do you see the customer catchment shifting towards promotion, values, you know, cost consciousness? I mean, from a mass perspective, I'm not talking about the high worth net individuals you're working with, but in case the mass, do you see really a shift in that? And when it comes to convenience, which is an e-commerce terminology, when they're looking at convenience, we have aggregators today coming out with, you know, offering convenience with value to the customer. So you go on a Noon app or a Talabat app, they got features where you have a shopping list. You can go shop from 10 different retailers, and you can pick up your cherries from one store, bananas from another store, milk from another store. And they just do the cherry picking, literally. And do you see the trend in the market, or do you see something like that in the industry happening? I know it's very retail specific, but with any kind of products that you handle, with the promotions that you see around, in different categories, different products, do you see a trend like that, or do you think it's just a wave and, you know?
I think only Talabat and Noon are one variety set.
There are so many promotion that you're bound to, my neighbor is having a 275 promotion and I will have to do something. So one is that rat race I think could be avoided, but I think, there is also a buzzword which is, first price, right price. If you can fall in that bracket and if you can create, I just give you an example. There were so many brands and everyone was fighting for market share, and there is a Duzulu kind of a brand, and all of a sudden there is a line queue and shopping, and everyone is going there shopping. They're just giving a value at 149, 179 shoe they're selling it. We just opened a store, and that's where I wanted to come to. We just opened a store in Dubai Hills Mall, and this was a brand which was known for making products for the who's and who's in the world, be it Louis Vuitton, we used to do loafers and all that stuff there. And we launched a brand, and I personally was conscious, while I didn't say this to my partner, that how would I sell at 550 when you have 600 dirham, when you have Steve Maddens, Aldo's, and all out there. I am with the, and the second point what he said is so right, customer is so very well informed. The customers came into the store, and not even a single customer did ask for that you are expensive or you're not having discount. It's all boiled down to, for me, maybe it's my category, what product is picking. He picked up the product, he realized that this is the value which is right value. He didn't even ask for. Though with the promotions and events at time we all need that to speed up our sales and sell-throughs and all. I would keep it to very strategic if you have to clear the merchandise. But if you can have a brand which can stand tall on the value we create, it can also be a way to life. And for us, it worked.
But it depends on the product from all across the world coming in and at different prices. Every different regional product is at a different price. I'll give you an example. If you buy Axe deodorant locally, you might, as a consumer, pay what they want to buy. A European customer, a Russian customer, if you lower the prices, they won't buy it. They wouldn't buy it at first place. But the moment you talk about Northern Emirates, it's very different. So I guess where e-commerce is going at today's date, they don't mention what is the authenticity of the product. Whether it's the product which is for this region or it is not for this region. This is something which should be mandated as a government practice, that consumers should be aware that this Axe deodorant is not for this region. It is a Sudan product, because the Sudan war, it was dumped in Dubai, and you are getting it for a premium price. But that, it is consumers' choice to buy it. By the end of it, it should be, consumer should be aware. It should be transparent on the e-commerce website that, this is where the product's origin is.
And Amazon and Noon are benefiting big time on this, by the way. They work with those resellers, and a lot of fake products are being sold.
I just want to add, it's clearly a category, especially if you look in the West, the US, and I mean, my sister lives in the UK. She hasn't been to a supermarket in 2 years. Because everything gets ordered automatically, right? Now, I think when it comes to, we need to remember that this region is very heavily influenced by souk shopping culture, South Asian shopping culture, where people like to talk to someone. And I think when it comes to a considered purchase, not impulse like convenience, so electronics or what have you, I think there's still a fear of, if I don't like the product, something's wrong with it, I can't talk to them. And here people still like going into the mall and saying, I have a problem, please fix it. So I still think there is that bit of fear, which is why people still like face-to-face. And also, we can remember mall retail, shopping mall.
I just want to add a few points to your question. We operate our retail stores, gk.com. We are on Talabat, Snonu, InstaShop, Kareem, and now we are on Noon 15 as well. Every aggregator has a different consumer segment, and we sell different products altogether. It is not like these all platforms are competing against each other. We are reaching out to a different consumer base which we never thought we would. For example, we sell something called HDMI cables. Now, we are not a TV retailer, we are a gaming retailer. But even our gaming devices require HDMI. A lot of our consumers from InstaShop just buy those. I mean, these are just basic things. I'm sure it might be the similar for other businesses or InstaShop, where you might be buying something from the supermarket on InstaShop, something which you not normally buy when you visit the supermarket. Having said that, on the e-commerce side of things, when it comes to gk.com, we don't price match with Amazon or Noon or whatsoever. Having said that, it still does well because people, as you rightly highlighted, people believe that GK will sell an original product, a proper product, which will be for this region. In our category, especially, we need a lot of 3-pin products. And Amazon and Noon, many a times you tend to find Japanese or 2-pin products which are not electrically right for this region. So again, we work with the government very closely, and they are working on mandates to make sure these are reduced and this is stopped. But there will always be someone or the other who is over smart, and they'll try to do much better. I mean, this has been, I think, one of the winnings of Dubai also, that the market here, especially the old Dera knife market, allows all kinds of products to be sold. So you and when it comes back to the question you said on the promotion side of things, yes, I think some of one of the gentlemen here as well said that in Dubai now, if you don't have a promotion, you don't have business. So about experience, a lot of consumers come to retail, see everything, and then they buy online. So I think a lot of experience needs to be given, and a value proposition should be given. We don't believe in giving discounts straight away, but rather giving in something of a value whereby we give you an experience which no one else in the market can give. A lot of our competition, that you'll not find many independent gaming retailers who have so many stores. And a lot of our competition is generally the smaller stores or the mom and pop stores in the area, and they will always be cheaper than us because their overheads are not that expensive. They're not in the malls. We pay very expensive rents to the malls. So I think in that perspective, you have to give the experience and the convenience to the customer, and then they will come to you. Naturally, those who are looking for price drops and discounts will go to the price drop or discount retailer. So you have to pick your battles, and based on that, make your strategy.
I think it also depends on the category as well. So I think convenience is clearly a category, especially if you look in the West, the US and UK. I mean, my sister lives in the UK. She hasn't, because everything gets ordered automatically, right? Now, I think when it comes to, we need to remember that this region is very heavily influenced by souk shopping culture, South Asian shopping culture, where people like to talk to someone. And I think when it comes to a considered purchase, not impulse like convenience, so electronics or what have you, I think there's still a fear of, if I don't like the product, something's wrong with it, I can't talk to anyone. And here, people still like going into the mall and saying, I have a problem, please fix it. So I still think there is that bit of fear, which is why people still like face-to-face. And also, we need to remember in mall retail, shopping mall retail in this region, because of the challenging weather at 8 months of the year, people still like going to the mall. Mall retail will still thrive in this region far longer than in the West or in North America, because people going to the mall on the weekend is an event, right? They go there. I mean, our consumers actually, most of our consumers, as Nimit quite rightly said, are children. Now, most of our consumers actually come to our stores 3 times a week. They come in during the week with their friends. Okay, they come in when their mum wants some bread, and they come in on the weekend when they do the family shop at Carrefour. They go to Magic Planet, they go to the food court, and they come to GK. So mall retail is still very much there, but just to echo what Nimit's saying, for retailers to really not just survive but thrive, they need to look at experience, and which is why I think I remember when Dubai Hills Mall was being planned, we were talking to EMAR, and they said they went all out on experience and F&B. It's one of the biggest F&B mix malls in UAE, mainly because they want mall to be more experiential rather than stores. So I think that mall retail can still be there as long as they create more of a destination kind of feel, and mainly focusing on experience.
I think that reminds me of a statement by Mr. Tommy Hilfiger, who says that we are not in the business of retail, we are in the business of retailtainment. And they've built their stores apparently over the years.
I'm Prerna. Sorry, I came a bit late. So I work in a jewelry industry. So coming to the e-commerce part, so consumer behavior, what I feel is like it really depends on what product they are looking for. So for example, in jewelry, so I work for Tanishq. So the consumers, like whosoever our customer is, they browse the website only to see what is the new collection, what is launched. They come, they select, and they are like, okay, I really like this 30-gram gold necklace. Can you show it to me? So then it comes to the store RSOs, it is all about how they're packaging it and what sort of experience they are getting in, and it like I would say